in Antigua. Definitely.
Yeah, I guess so I'm just getting the timeline.
67.
67 is when you came.
I got the exact date somewhere, July something 67,
1967.
and then I was deported in 68.
See, and then you were in Detroit for 3 years.
I was in Detroit, then I was almost arrested in Detroit. Yeah, I was arrested, almost arrested. Then I went underground again, and I was back and forth, Canada, San Francisco, Boston. I was everywhere. I mean, first of all, like I said, the first people that really looked after me were Antiguans and Guyanese and Antiguans. And I used to live, one of the places I lived, oh, I guess I don't know if I ever told you the story, but the first night I came to Canada, I went through Yorkville, and the first black person I saw, I think it was a male. I think he might have been a black Canadian. I don't know. So I'm thinking he was a black Canadian. I spoke to him, but he said nothing to me. And you know that coming from where I come from, you speak to everybody. You might even speak to a roach. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I remember I hooked up with some hippies, and they hooked me up. There were some hippies. One of the guys' name was Osborne. I've been looking for this guy for years, but it was Osborne, and they had a Native American, no, a Native First Nations person with him. She was with him, but so they got me a place to stay. And then I hooked up with the Quakers, and the Quakers hooked me up with Hirsch and Betty Fogel, Jewish folks. These two Jewish people who gave me a place to stay, Sherborne and Bloor, right underneath the underground, next door to the Underground Railroad. They had 3 children who I see from time to time. David and I can get their names. So I used to go live. I didn't live with them. They gave me a place to stay, but they looked after me. Betty is still alive. But Betty came when my son was born. Betty came to the hospital. She met my mother, so on and so forth. So they looked after me for, gave me a place to stay for free. Then I got involved with, there was a group that started here called the Afro-American Progressive Association. It was started by a guy named Dave Turner. He was an older guy from Chicago, but he was underground, and he was much older than we were. Jose Garcia's Jose was born in Aruba, but he has links in Curacao, Aruba. He could speak 4 or 5 different languages. So it was Jose, myself, Dave. I was the youngest. So we started the group, the Afro-American Progressive Association, which was Afro-American, meaning Africans from the Western Hemisphere. We were using Afro-American like Malcolm X used it. Well, we were using it like Malcolm X, but Malcolm X had got it from Carlos Cooks,
Right.
who was from the Dominican Republic. But Afro-American meant
The Americas.
all black people in the Americas.
Yeah.
And of course, the Caribbean folks, they couldn't get behind it because we're not Afro-Americans. And at that particular time, we were basically saying, well, Malcolm, it means all of us. But at that time, I didn't know. The real person that he got it from was originally born in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he was basically saying we're African Americans or Afro Americans. So we chose the name Afro-American Progressive Association. And we had a meeting with 67, 68, I can't remember, I can get the date for you. Jose brought in Jan Carew. And Jan Carew had just come back from Ghana. He was working with Malcolm. I mean, working with Nkrumah. He was working with Nkrumah. And when Nkrumah was overthrown in February 1966, Jan came to Toronto. He stayed with us for quite a few years. He used to help all of the underground people